Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. You know what time it is. Update time once again in the Battle Realm, and I am back with everything that you need to know about the June 2024 update for MCOC. Let's jump right in, starting off with the new champions for June, which are NORTHSTAR and Arcade. Now NORTHSTAR is a mutant. He's from Alpha Flight, so one of those Canadian superheroes, gold medalist, Olympic skier, supersonic speed, photonic energy blast, etc., etc. Essentially, he is a speedster. Now, I don't know about you, when I hear the term speedster in MCOC, my mind instantly says if he has the same janky combos that Quicksilver has, he's probably going to be like a DOA for me, because I can't stand playing Quicksilver. So if NORTHSTAR feels very similar to play, it's probably going to be like a huge turnoff for me. But I am going to try and keep an open mind on it. We'll see kind of where he ends up. Now Arcade looks to be a tech defender, and he's very goofy looking, kind of obsessed with game shows, almost like Marvel Joker almost. Now they put out a video with his special attacks, I think yesterday or the day before. They look absolutely wild, look very difficult to fully dex to, if we're being honest. Now, I have seen the kits for both of these champions. Obviously, the embargo is still in place, so can't really talk about them at all. But look forward to the deep dives, which should be out. Today is Friday. Look for the deep dives. I think tomorrow and Sunday they should be out. Number 2, speaking of Arcade, the next Saga starts in June and runs through August and is focused on Arcade. It's called Arcade Games. Now, the first Saga was fine. There were some things that I would like to see changed about it, but I am interested to see kind of how this Saga concept evolves as the team kind of gets more comfortable with it. So, first off, let's talk about the Chase Champ for the Arcade Game Saga, and it is 7-star Captain Marvel. This is the movie version, not the OG version, or Captain Sparkles if you're fancy. Now, remember, she was added to the game as a 7-star a while back, but was only made available for 2 days in this special Paragon crystal, and then she was never seen or heard from again. So Captain Marvel will be the Chase Champ. One thing that is going to be changing about this saga is how you are going to be chasing her. So they've gotten away from the runestone concept that they did with Nightcrawler, and instead have replaced runestones with these things called magnetron crystals. So opening these magnetron crystals is going to award points in a solo event here, and then the last milestone in the solo event is 7-star Captain Marvel movie. Now, another thing to note here is that it only requires 100 points to get 7-star Captain Marvel movie. With Nightcrawler, there was 120 runestones required, so not really sure if that means there's going to be additional grace points or grace crystals available, which was one of my big complaints about the first saga, or if they're just putting fewer of these crystals in the game, and you'll have to collect everything like you did for the first saga. Unsure how that's going to work. Now, you'll be able to purchase 30 of these crystals from the Trader's Outpost, 10 per month for a total of 30. So the remaining 70, I'm guessing you'll have to earn them via, the battlegrounds, reaching the Gladiator Circuit, probably another Incursions run with Saga Champs, and probably another Alliance War Showcase. I know that was a mixed bag for many folks. So last thing I want to note here is that the reward pool for the Magnetron Crystal is essentially the same as the base pool, just with an increased drop at Captain Marvel. No information here on what rarities are in this Magnetron crystal. I'm selfishly hoping that there is no 3-stars present in this crystal, because I stopped opening these event quest crystals a while back. They just sit in my inventory because I don't really need additional 3-stars, and the ISO isn't even worth it either. So if it was 4 to 6 stars maybe, or 4 to 7 if we're lucky, that would be great. But we'll see kind of how that shapes up. Number 3, let's talk about the side quest for June, since it is the first Saga-focused event that we're going to have. This side quest actually looks pretty interesting. So the idea is that each week you have you pick a path, A or B, for each fight. There are 3 fights and a boss fight in the side quest, and then you're picking a path based on the rewards that you want, but it also adds a different buff to the end boss. So I'm assuming there's going to be trap nodes or links or whatever, how they have it set up. So it kind of ends up feeling like a choose your own adventure, type quest, if you're old enough to remember those Choose Your Own Adventure books, where you get to decide what you want the boss to look like. I think that's a pretty interesting concept. So each week you'll also get a hint for something called a murder box, and then once you get all 4 hints, you'll be able to open the murder box, and then the rewards for that are pretty good, actually. So for Paragons and up, they're adding Tier 4 Alpha Catalyst fragments to the game, which is pretty cool. I think this amounts to 10% of a Tier 4 Alpha, so not a lot, but it is cool to see this catalyst kind of being earnable in-game for free-to-play players. One last thing I want to cover about the side quest for June is this Arcade Classics Crystal Pool. Now, these are like the monthly EQ crystals. They usually come in 2 flavors, like a Cav crystal with 3 to 6 stars, and then the exclusive 2-star crystal, which you have to pay like 100 units for. It's kind of a little too expensive, I would say. Now, normally I don't cover these crystal pools because they're not really that interesting, but I do want to point out 2 things about this one. And the first one is that Punisher is available in this crystal pool. So Punisher for me feels like the least obtainable champ in the game, especially at a 6-star rarity. So seeing him in this pool, he was in one of these EQ crystal pools several months ago. So if you're missing 6-star Punisher, you'll get some additional chances to get him starting in June. And secondly, THANOS is also in this pool, which means that he is now going to be available at a 2-star and likely 3-star rarity if the crystal pool or the crystal rarities stick to like 3-star to 6-star. So 2-star, 3-star Thanos, pretty cool. If you're a champion collector like I am, some new exclusive rarities for Thanos are going to be available going forward. I think that's pretty cool. Number 4, let's talk about some new features coming to the game, and the first one is called Quick Heal. So this is a new one where it looks like the game will automatically choose the revives and potions required to get your champion up to a certain level of health. Now, I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work. We didn't see it. Didn't actually hear about this at all, I don't think, until I saw the patch notes. I'm curious to see, like, is it going to try and heal you back up to, like, full or, like, 80% or 60% or what? It probably works and feels similar to, like, the Smart Select ISO when you're ranking up champs. Sometimes Smart Select, not that smart. Hopefully this is a little bit more intuitive, I would say. Also going to provide dynamic top-up options, which I think is a fancy way of saying a pop-up that's going to have you spend your units if your items are running low. So curious to see how this is going to work. If you're tired of doing the math on the most efficient way to heal up your champs, this is probably going to be pretty useful for you. I tend to play the game itemless. That's just the way that I like to play it. Not really sure how frequently I will be utilizing this option, maybe in Alliance War, which is like the only mode where I heal up consistently. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. Number 5, this is a really big deal if you are struggling with Battlegrounds to get through the victory track. So starting in June, and this is permanent by the way, all victory track matches in Battlegrounds will award 2 medals for a win and only subtract 1 medal for a loss. And they've also added some additional ranks and rewards to each tier to kind of compensate for how much faster it's going to be for most players to get through. Now, this is a huge deal because a lot of people struggle with the victory track getting into the Gladiator circuit because at a certain point, I think it's in Platinum, it requires a win rate of greater than 50%. So you hit a certain point in the victory track, and it's only 1 medal per win, 1 medal per loss. So you need to be winning more matches than you're losing in order to actually make progress and end up in the Gladiator circuit. So going forward, if your win rate is below 80%, this is going to be an incredibly positive change for you, and it's likely going to result in more people getting into the Gladiator circuit, which I think is something that Kabam wants. The Gladiator circuit is set up to support many hundreds of thousands of players, and usually, like, when I get into the Gladiator circuit, I'm already like a few tiers up because it's not filling up as fast as it used to. So now if your win rate is already above 80%, it's technically worse for you, but because they've expanded the victory track and it's going to require more wins and more time for you to get through. However, additional ranks mean additional rewards. There are additional trophy tokens available on the way. So, you can kind of look at it, I guess, in whatever way you want. The Sweaty BGs players are probably not going to like this, but, all of them are going to bum rush the Gladiator circuit on day one anyways, so I'm not really sure it makes a difference. Number 6, this month's list of bug fixes and improvements is quite extensive. Obviously not going to cover all of these. So the past few months, these actually weren't included in the patch notes, so big shout out to the team for finally getting the bug fixes in the patch notes ahead of time. Glad to see that. Now, most of these are pretty tame, nothing like real major, it feels like, so I'll just pick out a few of the really interesting ones. If you want to pause the video and take a look at the list, that's fine. Otherwise, these will be added to the official blog post, probably right now, actually, when this video is out. So first one I want to mention is this one here. Fix an unintended interaction between Prowler and Power Drain immune champs who received infinite special 3s under certain conditions. So I saw a video of this. I don't remember if it was on Twitter or in the CCP. I think it was Prowler against Venom. It was from the EQ. So they were using Venom against the Prowler boss, and they were like getting infinite special 3s. It was really funny to see, so that's going to be fixed. I'm not really sure how practical of an interaction that is, but really, really funny video to see. Second one I want to talk about is this one here. Fixed an issue where Odin's protection pre-fight was not capping the health loss to 15% in incursions. So if you run incursions, even infrequently, you almost certainly are using the Odin pre-fights on your primary attacker. They're very valuable, especially if you're using a buff-heavy champ, you want that aptitude. The shock resistance is great, and then the protection buff is also really nice. So fixing this, I honestly didn't even know this was broken. But taking hits in incursions hurts really bad. So fixing the cap to 15% is really going to go a long ways to help your survivability in that mode, which is really nice. And then the third one I want to talk about, this has actually already been fixed, but they're going to list it here. Fixed an issue where Juggernaut was able to stagger infinite buffs with a single passive stagger. So Fintech found this one. He posted it in the CCP one day. Very, very funny. So the way that this was working is you would just heavy to place a stagger, and when the stagger expired, it was kind of like still there but invisible. So one heavy at the start of the fight, and you would permanently stagger every buff in the fight. So the example he showed was like against a Hulkling, where he did a heavy at the start of the fight, and then Hulkling gained no buffs the rest of the fight. It was really funny. So this has already been fixed. The fix is already live. So yeah, if you found that and you were using it, well, you're not using it anymore. So last but certainly not least, I want to give a shout out and a huge thank you to my dude Kabam Miike here, who left the company this past week. Everybody's probably aware of this by now. I posted this picture on Twitter. This was at the Battle Run Brawl in October in Vancouver. A couple of legends in this photo there. And I just want to say that very few people, I think, both in the community and even at Kabam, care about this game more than he did. And the number of times that he advocated on behalf of the community, oftentimes taking stances against what the rest of the team wanted to do because he knew it was the right thing for the players. All that stuff is behind the scenes and you guys aren't aware of it. Being a community manager is undoubtedly a very difficult job. It is not a job that I would want to do or am probably capable of doing, especially for this community, which is sometimes prone to, let's say, extreme reactions to things. And for Mike to be able to do the job that he did, a thankless job, for sure. I have a lot of respect for him as a community manager and as a human being. Yeah, just legitimately one of the coolest guys I met from the Kabam team. So nice, very, very smart guy. And I just want to say, thank you to him. If you're watching this, thank you big time for everything that you did to make this game great, to make the CCP fun, to keep everybody on task when sometimes we would get a little in the weeds. And I really wish you the best in wherever your life takes you. So thank you, Mike. That's going to do it for the patch notes, folks. Let me know in the comments below what you are most excited about in June. Is it NORTHSTAR or Arcade? You're looking forward to the Saga or perhaps the Victory Track updates in Battlegrounds, or maybe you are looking forward to celebrating your favorite content creator's birthday, which happens to be in the month of June. Just saying, just putting that out there. So regardless, as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again next time.